A major shakeup in the race for the 2016 Democratic presidential nomination. Hello, everyone. I'm Patty Ann Brown, in for Jenna Lee.
I'm John Scott. Leland Vittert in for John Scott on this Labor Day weekend. Happy Labor Day to you. Senator Bernie Sanders surging ahead of Democratic frontrunner Hillary Clinton in the latest poll out of the country's first primary state, New Hampshire. The Vermont lawmakers' momentum comes as Clinton's campaign continues to struggle to answer questions about her private email server. Vice President Joe Biden also has significant support from primary voters in the Granite State, and he hasn't even announced he's running yet. Doug McKelway is live in our Washington newsroom with a breakdown of the latest numbers. Hi, Doug.
Hi, Leland. This new NBC Marist poll is proof that Hillary Clinton's campaign is faltering and her handling of the email scandal is hurting her badly. The poll shows that the 10-point lead Clinton held in New Hampshire back in July is now completely erased. Worse for Clinton, Vermont Socialist Senator Bernie Sanders now leads her 41% to 32% in New Hampshire. She still holds the lead in Iowa, but Sanders gaining ground there. 38% for Clinton, 27% for Sanders, and 20% for Biden.
I've always thought this was going to be a competitive primary, and I welcome that. I think that this is a contest. It's a contest of ideas, of policies, of, how we present ourselves to the American people.
And one of the ways that Clinton is presenting herself to the American people is by resurrecting the so-called war on women, citing, among other things, some of Donald Trump's abrasive comments in recent weeks. That is drawing some return fire from a GOP candidate who's rising in stature.
Well, first of all, boo-hoo Mrs. Clinton. I mean, Mrs. Clinton is the same person who compared Republicans to terrorists. For heaven's sakes, I actually wish Mr. Trump would throw a little more heat Hillary Clinton's way. I feel sometimes as though I'm the only candidate who's consistently been critical of her. The truth is, Mrs. Clinton has lied as Secretary of State about Benghazi, about her emails, about her server. And so when she revives this war on women, and make no mistake, she will, this is her go-to line.
Meanwhile, one analyst suggests that Sanders is rising, but his profile may be short-lived.
I think Bernie Sanders is going to do well in states like New Hampshire, which are very small states. Any states with major urban environments, he's going to get killed by Hillary. If blacks and Hispanics are voting, Bernie Sanders has no chance.
Vice President Joe Biden, meanwhile, who has not yet announced his candidacy, has risen to 16% in New Hampshire, a 4-point jump from July. He is expected to decide whether to run sometime this month. Leland, back to you.
And we are all awaiting that decision. Doug McKelway live in Washington. Thanks, Doug.
And for more now on the race for the Democratic presidential nomination, let's bring in our political panel. Daniel Halper, the online editor of Weekly Standard and the author of Clinton, Inc., The Audacious Rebuilding of a Political Machine. And Shira Center, the political editor of the Boston Globe. You just saw the numbers. Sanders ahead of Clinton by 9 points in New Hampshire. In July, Clinton was beating Sanders by 10. And meanwhile, in Iowa, Clinton's lead over Sanders has fallen from 24 points in July to just 11 points now. Biden has the support of 20% of Iowa caucus goers. He's at 16% in New Hampshire. And by the way, Hillary loses to Jeb Bush in both of these states. So, Shira, is her campaign in trouble?
Her campaign has definitely had a rough summer. This is not the summer they had hoped for or wanted. They've had to deal with the email scandal. And the thing is, it's only going to get more trying for them in the next couple months. In October, you have the Benghazi hearing. You have the first debate. We'll have more emails released by the State Department if they're on schedule. So it's only going to get more difficult for them. I mean, really, the only hope they have right now to continue through the primary is that maybe Sanders falters, right? Sanders has not been in the critical limelight completely yet, and so his candidacy could take a turn, in which case Clinton could probably rise again.
Dan, the New York Times says that Hillary's campaign has calculated that she can afford to lose New Hampshire and Iowa. What do you make of this whole Southern firewall theory?
I think that's huge. I mean, I think it's a seismic shift in the campaign. A couple weeks ago, Hillary Clinton's campaign was just putting millions of dollars into Iowa and New Hampshire, trying to raise her poll numbers. This new revelation about that, well, don't worry, they've got a southern firewall. They can win South Carolina and Florida and the southern states, and that will prevent Hillary Clinton from losing this campaign. I think that shows that she's on very bad footing, that she's caught by surprise by this new by these new swing of polls, and that, you know, she's got huge problems ahead, and that's from a sign of weakness that she's doing this, not from a place of strength. And, you know, it's not that that she can't overcome it, but it would be very difficult from going here forward.
You know, Shira, regarding this email scandal, she hasn't, you know, she's finally stopped making jokes about it. Instead, now she's saying it wasn't the best choice, but she's still not apologizing. The final batch of emails isn't going to be released until January, so the story is going to linger. Does she need to go further?
No, she could go further. I mean, she has announced that her campaign has announced that she's going to be doing more media interviews. And I think in many of these one-on-one exchanges, you might see her go further and express a little more contrition for the way she handled her emails at the Department of State. But I think truly at the time, she said it, she didn't think twice about setting up this email system. And it's become this massive headache for her campaign and her presidential aspirations.
Okay, so Dan, next month she's going to testify before the House Select Committee on Benghazi, and an MSNBC article is saying that her aides are hoping that Republicans are going to attack her too hard and give her the chance to say this is a partisan witch hunt. And, you know, there really are a lot of Clinton supporters who don't seem familiar with the details of Benghazi, who do perceive this as just something the Republicans are trying to make a big deal out of. Why isn't this story being taken more seriously?
Well, the Clinton aides have been thinking this for the last 6 months, that the Republicans would go too far, they'd overplay their hands, and that would benefit Hillary Clinton. That theory of the race has never come to fruition so far. I think behind the scenes they are taking it seriously. They are very scared about it. I think this is a way of showing that they're very confident that their candidate has done the right thing, has not done nothing wrong. I don't think it's truthful in them saying that this is their strategy and they hope it's true. I think they're slightly petrified about what might come about. Already we've learned about these emails from the Benghazi committee and this whole slew of other scandals that have emerged. It's no longer just about Benghazi and about what she did or didn't do to prevent the terror attack in Benghazi and the cover-up later on. It's become a much, much larger issue. And I don't think it's in her hand, and I don't think she has any control over it. I think showing signs of contrition only show that she had bad judgment. I think that's very problematic for her all the way around.
All right. Shira, her campaign is going to try to shift gears here. They say that she's going to focus this month on women's issues. Does Carly Fiorina complicate that strategy?
Not completely, I think. Carly Fiorina is likely going to make it into the debate, so she'll have another platform by which she can talk about this. I don't think it complicates Hillary's strategy too much. Remember, this is a strategy that actually worked for Hillary Clinton in the past. She didn't emphasize her gender as much in her 2008 race, and this time around she is, and where that worked for her was New Hampshire. So when she goes back and she's trying to regain the lead in the polls ahead of the primary in New Hampshire, I think working and appealing to female voters, especially 40-plus female voters, is a good strategy for Hillary Clinton because it's worked before.
All right, we're going to have to leave it there. Shira Center, Daniel Halper, thank you both for joining us on this Labor Day.
Happy Labor Day.
Thank you. Thank you.